I've been craving an adventure to call my own for quite some time now. I have, like many others, followed the exploits of Settled, Lemony Apple, Turtletail, and many other area-restricted Ironmen with great interest. I wanted to forge my own journey under harsh restrictions, and thus I came up with a playstyle I like to call the Dungeon-Restricted Ultimate Ironman. Inspired by my favorite games from my childhood like Diablo, Dark Cloud, and The Legend of Zelda, this style of playing focuses on item-based progression by slaying monsters. Now at first, this doesn't sound much different than playing RuneScape normally, but the devil's in the details. The main objective will be to claw my way up from level 3 to solo Krill Sutsaroth and his 3 demon lieutenants. The restrictions are as follows. I cannot use gear obtained from quests such as Arclight or Recipe for Disaster gloves. No buying from nor selling to shops, no mini-games, no access to overworld facilities such as sinks, ranges, furnaces, altars, etc. No access to overworld resources such as fishing spots, trees, mining rocks, treasure trails, or crystal chests. No overworld item spawns may be collected. No overworld monsters may be slain. I have a carefully planned itinerary of 32 quest points in order to unlock about a dozen additional dungeons and several best in slot items. 32 was the budget chosen because I'll need an anti-dragon shield, an essential part of any dungeon diver's toolkit. During these quests, the restrictions must be adhered to whenever possible, making something simple like Druidic Ritual a very high level quest for me. Now, the exceptions to these rules are as follows. Because food is so important to progress, I'm allowing 28 fishing to start catching eels in the Lumbridge swamp caves. Next, the Shrine of Scorpius for empowering unholy symbols. This will be my best in slot amulet in the final battle, allowing me to get the necessary kill count without expending too many resources and without compromising too much on stats or inventory space. I'm allowing travel such as ships and fairy rings, noting herbs at the Tool Leprechaun, and unnoting items at a bank. The Barrows will be considered a dungeon as it is dangerous and thematically appropriate, I would say. The Amulet of Ghost Speak will be allowed as well, and the Bearhead because I like it and I don't have very much to look forward to, so just let me have this, please. Okay, moving on. Player-owned house access is allowed under certain conditions. No cooking, prayer, healing, or skill grinding allowed, strictly for tool and item stores, flexing, and most importantly, repairing armor and weapons. The Slayer shop will be completely necessary as the Slayer mansion will be considered a dungeon despite not being truly self-contained. We're going to be doing both of those things. The tannery to craft various armors, as well as the use of the sawmill. I'm not camping one plank spawn in Underground Pass, and I'm not doing Zora for a few oak planks. It's not going to happen. We're going to use a sawmill. Speaking of saws, we have to buy our first one, as well as a sickle mold for nature spirit, and a fishing rod to get food. There is one fishing rod spawn in the Mireditch Labs, but frankly, access there isn't worth the content that would be lost in allocating quest points to that end. And lastly, 75% Hosidius favor to unlock the Ent dungeon, which will make fletching and construction viable to train. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and begin. Now, when I first started recording this 2 weeks ago, I didn't actually have access to a microphone, and I wasn't really sure I was even going to stick with it, but I'm really loving the game style so far. So, this first episode will be kind of a catch-up of sorts, not the condiment. That's a stupid joke. Why did I say that? Alright, we're just going to move past that. I'm not re-recording this, so I'm just going to narrate what's happening, and hopefully you can bear with that. The future episodes will have live commentary and reactions, but this is just to let you know what I've done so far. So after setting my Ultimate Ironman status and getting off Tutorial Island, I briefly considered getting the armor, and There were times when I really wish I had done this, but I decided against it ultimately because I just felt like it would make the early game a little bit easier than it needed to be, and it would make the journey all that much more meaningful if I had to start from really nothing and then work my way up. I also drop a few items that they give me, most of them actually. Wish I kept that small fishing net. Wish I had the foresight to think about that before dropping it, because the one in Corsair Cove dungeon, it's nobody told me. We'll get to it later. Just keep watching. And so I made my way to Varric Sewer, the very first dungeon, and quickly found that I was being bodied by the most basic of fantasy enemies, the giant rat, which meant that I was relegated to killing normal rats until I was strong enough to actually kill their larger cousins. After I had base 5s in the melee stats, I was able to kill 1 or 2 occasionally, and then chop some wood from a tree I found in the sewer, make a fire and cook some of that meat, although I burned most of it. And then after that, I just kept training on rats and cooking them and eating them for a long time, until I realized I was never going to be able to get ahead just doing this, because without armor I wasn't even able to kill skeletons. So at that point I realized the best thing to do would be to kill dwarves in the dwarven mines for some bronze bars and work on my smithing, and then maybe make some armor that would give me a fighting chance. And so I ran laps between the dwarven mines and the Varric sewers, restocking on food, killing dwarves, smithing bars, until I was able to make my own bronze chain body. To give you some perspective, it took about 20 minutes to get back to Varric sewers, kill an inventory full of rats, cook them, eat back to full health, kill some more, fill up on food, cook them again, and then head back. I was killing dwarves for about 10 minutes and hunting rats for about 20, but eventually things started to level off and I was able to kill dwarves without even really needing that much food. Oh yeah, there were a few gear upgrades along the way I haven't really mentioned, and I'm not going to go over every single one. It's fighting boots from Stronghold of Security, iron sword from skeletons, black square from mossies, which also dropped a mossy key. That's going to be the basis of the next episode, is preparing to fight Briophyta. I tried to get an iron plate body from pirates. It wasn't really working out too well. I ended up killing some hobgoblins for a slayer task. They ended up dropping a steel dagger, a steel spear, and a steel longsword, which I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty excited about. At this point it was time for some new food, and so I went out to Minotaurs in the Stronghold of Security to farm up some arrows, and then I took those arrows to very slowly kill a Catabalpon, and luckily on the second one we got an unlit torch. After that, I got a rope from some muggers in the Asgardian Ice Dungeon, and went down to the Lumbridge Swamp Caves, and proceeded to farm out a candle lantern and a candle from cave bugs, and that was going to allow us to freely explore the caves, train agility later, and fish up as many eels as we could possibly eat. So there was just one problem. I knew I would have to grind out the 28 fishing, but I at least thought I could get the small fishing net from Corsair Cove dungeon and use that to get there. The issue is, basically due to some sort of hunter-related bug, Ironman can't actually take this spawn, which I realized upon trying to pick it up. So I had to buy a fishing net to get the 28 fishing, and once that disgusting, awful exception was done, I just bought a fishing rod, and that's the end of that ugly chapter. From there we went to Varric Sewers to kill some zombies for fishing bait. Then we fished up our very first cave eels, finally. And then we knocked out Restless Ghost while we were in the area. And then we just spent a nice 6 hours getting 15 thieving. I got it by picking the entrance to the ham hideout, which I thought was a good way of doing it because we're breaking into a dungeon and we're not really getting anything out of it other than just XP. And in case you're wondering, that was a blistering 462 XP per hour. Nice. Now, the reason for getting 15 thieving was so we could pickpocket ham members, which I was thinking was going to be a good way to boost our crafting to get some good ranging armor to fight Bryophyta. As it turns out, it wasn't. And to get more into that, they tend to drop a lot of opals and jades, so I thought I'll get 15 construction to get a chisel, and then I'll get even better crafting XP than just tanning the cow hides and polishing buttons. So as it turns out, after getting 15, you actually need oak planks to make tool stores, so that was kind of disappointing. I went ahead and moved on to the pickpocketing for crafting scheme, and that was about 50 XP per hour, and I got all the way to level 11, and I just got really tired of it. I think it'll be a little bit better once I get a chisel, but this is pretty much going to be my only way of getting crafting up to like 66 before I can make blue dragonhide vambraces. So yeah, that's going to be fun when we go back to that. Stay tuned. So then I went and safe spotted some ice giants for iron plate legs. We got pretty lucky on that, only 10 kills, and for the first time we look pretty badass. And the only other notable thing after that is that I began training agility, and I'm training agility for a few different reasons we'll get into later, but from level 1 my only method is hopping across stones in the Lumbridge Swamp Cave, which actually gives pretty decent XP rates when compared to the thieving grind. And after 20 we can do the monkey bars and Edgefield dungeon for 20 XP per cross, and I don't think you even fail that obstacle, so things are looking pretty good. Here's our current stats real quick, and yeah, I hope to see you again next time. I know this episode was a little rushed in some places. It's honestly because I'm just going through a lot of old raw footage. I don't really want to have to do it this way. I wish I just recorded live commentary and edit it then. See, I'm not going to go back and remove that little stutter there, because this is it. This is just an introduction. Future episodes are going to be better edited and overall I think just more interesting to watch. But yeah, so stay tuned. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe or check out the Twitter, even though you can do both of those things. You're an adult, you know, you can make your own decisions. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Alright.